Hi, I'm Rob Boyd, an English photographer from the UK. I decided to create this podcast series talking to international photographers whose work I truly love. I realised I knew nothing about these amazing people apart from their names and their stunning work. So I created a set of hopefully entertaining questions that finds out who they are and what they love. Hi Trey, nice to finally have you here, mate. Nice to see you.
Hey, good to see you, Rob. How you doing?
Absolutely amazing. So if you could start with your name and your Instagram name, that'd be brilliant.
So it's Trey _creative.
Yeah, perfect. And have you got a website?
No, I don't at the moment. It's something I'm looking to do, but I haven't really sort of sat and thought about doing it at the moment. But eventually when I get myself together in terms of the work and everything, yeah, I'll get a website up and yeah, that'd be good. It's at the back of my mind to do.
Yeah.
I haven't got round to it yet.
Well, you're a busy fella anyway, so one extra thing to put there is a bit, extra pressure.
Yeah, this is it.
And where do you live, mate?
Wanstead, East London. It's the Redbridge area.
So, and where are you from originally?
From Redbridge area, same sort of area, not too far from where I am now, but yeah, same area sort of thing.
Yeah, good. And is it good for photography?
It's a nice place. It's a family, leafy, suburban area in East London. It's good for photography. If you're into wildlife and pets, it's a great place. But as I'm into more of the human aspects of portraits, I don't really find a lot of subjects around there. There are a few, but it's always very quiet. It's like every day is like more or less like a Sunday. So I always venture out into more central or further to places like Dalston. It's a nice area, to Dalston Market, places like Brick Lane and the usual Soho, Camden Town, those sort of places. Never have a plan when I set out. I just go and wherever my mind feels to go, I'll check it out. But I started to do a bit about in Dalston. It's a bit more difficult, bit of a challenge to capture folks there because it's a bit shy. They don't want their photos taken.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I was going to ask you where would you take me to shoot if I was going to come out? I guess that's the areas we'd go to.
Yeah. Dalston, Camden, Brick Lane. Yeah, the usual, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And I normally ask, is there anything to visit as a tourist? But you're in London. I mean, everything on your doorstep.
It's nice to go where there's a lot of people, diversity. So like the tourists, you can capture the different characters in the further out you go. For me anyway, I don't really find much in East London. So I always jump on the train during the summertime, walk several miles and see what I capture on the way. I usually find that walking out of East London, there's nothing. And then as you get more towards Central or like Whitechapel or Brick Lane, that's when I sort of come alive. I start seeing things and, there's the odd things along the way, but when you get to those areas, there's more to do, more things to see. So
yeah. Interesting characters, I would think.
Yeah, there's loads of interesting characters. Some good for candid, some you want to stop and ask them to pose and get a few shots of them. And some of the areas like Whitechapel, you've got to be careful because, it's a sort of the culture there don't really like to be photographed unless they know you or they've seen you around a few times. Or if you can do a few sneaky candid shots, then it's fine. But but it's good. It's good. It's all these areas are good challenges anyway. You have your good days and your bad days, but they're good to travel through and
And always good to be mindful as well. I mean, that's always a good point.
Yes, yeah. Try and use your discretion. I've been like Whitechapel and I've had people sort of stop me, you're taking photos of my shop and no, I'm not. You might just be looking at your screen, checking a few things, but they think you're aiming it at their shop. And I mean, a shop of all things, yeah. But I don't escalate or, I don't want anything to break the rhythm. So I always try and pacify them and say, look, have a look. I'm not taking it of your shop. I'm just looking at my screen and then just move on, get out of the area and, carry on with your journey. So
yeah,
you don't want no altercations on the way. So it breaks the rhythm sometimes.
Yeah. No, perfect. So what's your favorite destination in the world? Where do you love the most?
Well, it's always been there on my mind, and that's India. Never been there, but I've seen quite a few documentaries and there's something ever since as a child that's just urging me to go there. And so it's something that I have to do at one stage in my life. So I'd love to do India, China, Japan, and Brazil, the carnival. It's so alive. It would be nice to capture the energy there. So that's the place I'd love to go. Yeah. There, and also the Caribbean. The thing is with the Caribbean, you go there and with your family, you don't really get to see places you want to, because you're stuck with family. You're there, you're eating, meeting. You get a few hours away, but you really want to jump on a boat and just go around the island and see different things. So
Yeah.
So they're the places. So Caribbean I've been to many times. So India, Brazil, China, and Japan are on the list I'd love to do. Yeah.
Brilliant. So if you could time travel, where and when would you visit?
Now, if I could time travel, I would go back to St. Kitts Nevis, where my mother's from. Antigua's where my father's from. But I like St. Kitts Nevis, a small little island. And I would like to go back there and meet the ancestors, because, way back in time where, Nivisians, as they call them, or Kittitians, the people on the island, they never had cameras. It was more for the affluent plantation owners or business owners or tourists who would visit the island, capture what they can and take it back. So there's nothing on the island from the locals capturing their family. And that's a shame, really, because, I'd like to be, if I can go back in time, I'd like to be there, walking in and out of, like, not just the family, but other, the villagers, sitting with them, taking pictures, capturing those moments that have gone and never will be seen unless they're taken back to America or to Europe, where visitors have taken,
Yeah.
So for me, it would be nice to capture those moments, just be sitting on a wall somewhere and seeing an argument or some little dispute or people joking and playing their music, and you're just there in the background, just snapping away, capturing the real moments. And also the clothes, the attire that they used to wear. I'm not so much sure about the vehicles, the material and the clothing. Follow the thread through to New York and to the UK, the style, the hats, and the garments. There's so much about people of that time, our history. So it would be nice to capture all those things. You get a touch of it when you go to the classic car boot sale. You see those cars, Art Deco styling, 1950s, 1920 vehicles, and the way, like, the guests are dressed there and the hats. It just gives you that feel that I'd like to go back and capture that real time, where people are looking through shop windows, just capturing the frames of reflections with those lovely hats and suits. It's a shame we don't have that now.
Yeah, absolutely. But saying about the classic cars as well, amazing how modern they were for their time. They have electric windows and almost airbags and these kind of things way ahead before we did. In the 80s,
way ahead of their time.
Up the windows and stuff, and that was all you had.
This is it. I mean, it's like when like I said, when you go to the car boot sale and you get a chance to look at the cars, the shapes, the Art Deco, stuff like that. The sharp edges of the, the back, the rear of the car and things like that. It's like it was a work of art then, but you don't really see that in cars now. It's all the engineering, the electrics and, that sort of thing, not the actual shape of the car.
Yeah.
There's something different. You see the excitement on people's faces when they see these old 1920s, like these cars. Like, wow, it's really lovely,
Yeah.
You don't get that now. So,
no. Yeah, brilliant. So if you could photograph anyone in history, who would you shoot?
Again, I would go back to St. Kitts Nevis and take photos of the grandparents from both sides, because I didn't think my mum always spoke of my granddad. He used to write in the local village and used to set up plays and things like that. It sounds interesting, but there's no record of these things. So it'd be nice to go back, sit, chat, and, find out their ideas and what they love doing, their hobbies, what life was like, It'd be nice to witness that.
Nice document it for yourself as well. That would be the thing, like a personal journal almost.
Well, it'd be a photographic journal and probably write about it as well, because I as much as I love photography, I do like writing. I used to do a bit of writing where instead of photography, I used to go out and I would jot something down. If an incident happened, I'd write about it and try and be a bit poetic about it as well, creative. But since the photography, I've been so indefatigable with photography that I've not looked back. So, but I'll have to sort of get back to those eventually, and mix the two together. It'd be nice, the writing and photography. So, yeah.
Yeah. An idea for a book or a zine. There you go, mate.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It's something I should do. So,
brilliant.
In the pipeline, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. So tell me a fun fact or a story about yourself.
Fun fact? Well, fun now, but it wasn't fun then.
Okay.
And it was a time I went to US Virgin Islands. My cousin invited me over and I went to stay for 5 weeks. Yeah, it was a beautiful holiday. Loved it. But within the first 3 days there, I went into town. My cousin, she knows what I'm like. She said, there's the keys. Go and do your thing. I'm known for wandering off when I go away with families and that. So I'd wander off and come back 8 hours later with some story or an adventure. So she said, right, have a great time. Don't get into any mischief. Da, 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 da. I said, me? No, never. So within, half an hour of walking into town, someone called out my name. They knew my name, my surname, and they kept on shouting. I looked around and I thought, who knows me here? I've only been here like 3 days and already someone's calling my name. So I looked around, didn't recognize this woman. She came running to me with her daughter and she said, how you doing? And I said, do I know you? And she said, well, and because I came out with an English accent, she said, well, you're not who I thought you were, but you're the spitting image. And why'd you turn around? I said, well, you've called my name. And she said, well, you got the same name. I said, yeah. She said, no, this is weird. And I said, do you think it's weird? So she said, come with me. And she had this little tourist shop and she invited me in to introduce me to her staff, 2 staff members. So as soon as I walked in, she called them out and they came out and was like, hey, how you doing? And they looked close and we thought, yeah, she said, exactly. And she said, did I prove it to you? And I said, well, yeah, but this is weird. So I was thinking it was a prank from my cousin. She set me up for, it's not like her, but who knows, but it wasn't. And wherever I went into that town, it's only a small town, people were calling me out or saying hello, thinking I was this person. So it baffled me. Up until this day, it baffled me.
Yeah.
So later on, I thought, well, I've been out most of the day, time to go home and get something to eat. I hailed for a taxi. This guy pulled up and I jumped in, told him where I was going. And before I knew it, he put the pedal to the metal and he zoomed down the motorway. And I said to him, right. So I explained where I was going, where I lived, where I was staying and everything. And didn't say anything. And I thought, a bit miserable. He carried on driving. And when I realized that the place where I was supposed to be going, the road where I was supposed to end up, was getting further and further back in the distance, I said, what are you doing? I live back this way. Where are you taking me? And he didn't say anything until we got to this complex where it was desolate. And all I could see around me were just, it reminded me of, it was something like The Bronx Tale, the film The Bronx Tale or Juice, where all these guys were sitting around. So I said to him, if you don't let me out of here, I'm going to have to kick my way out because the doors were locked and everything. And he said, have a look around. Just take a look. He had a Caribbean accent and everything. And I looked around, and I just saw like guys in their bandanas, vests, sitting there and they're just staring at the car. He said, you step out of the car, they'll strip you. They know you're a tourist. That'd be it. And I believed him. So I saw they looked, I didn't want to try it. So I said to him, look, what is this all about? And he said, I know what you did with my wife. You destroyed my relationship. Like, what? I've only been here 3 days. I don't know you. I've never seen you before. It couldn't possibly be me. And he said, you ruined my life. Why? What? And I'm thinking, well, I'm looking at this guy. He's got to be at least 20 years older. I'm assuming his wife is thereabout. And I'm thinking, you don't know how wrong you got this, But we were in the car for about 45 minutes.
Wow.
And if you can imagine, windows up, he can take it. I couldn't. I was soaked. I was drenched. And I was just thinking about how am I going to walk on the road looking like this? It's like I went for a swim and then just came out, And he told me this story about, how he felt that I had an affair with his wife, several years ago. And I said, couldn't have been me. I've only been here 3 days and eventually he sort of came round. It's like he had a blackout or something. And he sort of, okay. And he drove me back. We didn't really talk, but he was more calmer this time. He wasn't angry or in hysterics or anything. And he drove me back to where he picked me up and drove off. It was like it was a figment of my imagination. It's like where he dropped me off. It's like I woke up and this dreamed, it was a dream or something. And I had to walk all the way home. I wasn't going to go back in a taxi so I walked all the way home, told my cousin about it. And she said, I knew it. You can never go somewhere without something happening. Everyone else would go away and, had a meal, met this person, that, but you have to have an adventure. Why? I said, I don't know. And I told her about the doppelganger and everything else, and she couldn't believe it. They talk about it now to this day, and I can't believe it, but never have I been somewhere where someone's got your name, your surname, they're the same height, and the only thing that was different was the accent.
Wow. That's crazy. And did you ever meet them? Did you meet your doppelganger?
Never met the doppelganger. Never.
Oh, God.
I went into town every single day. Never met that person. And my cousin lives there. And she said, I've never seen anyone that looks like you.
Wow.
Don't know what that was about. Crazy.
Yeah, that's absolutely batshit. Good story.
Madness,
well done. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. That's great.
Yeah, being kidnapped on holiday, you sort of go away.
Yeah, it's not. Well,
I'm glad it stopped there and didn't go any further.
No, absolutely. So, what's your favourite word?
So, I don't have a favourite word as such, but I would say there's 2 words that always take me back to my mother, and she used to use this plenty of times. I remember little kids growing up, and my mum would say cantankerous or discommode. And as a kid, I used to think they were Caribbean words. So they were words that would be used when, my parents would see something, he's so cantankerous, or he's always like discommoding people. So I used to hear these things when we were driving out at the back of the car and I'm sitting at the back or something, but I never used them in school. And it wasn't until when I was older and I thought, how good they would have been for English lessons, using such superior words and I always thought they were Caribbean words. And so it would be understood in English.
Yeah.
And then I look back now and I think, that's silly. They were words that everyone used. So, so those 2 words, whenever I hear them, always take me back to when my mum used to use them, so, yeah. So, so I don't really have a favourite word. I would say those 2 words just take me back. It's just like a song, really. Certain songs would take you back to a certain time.
Yeah.
Those 2 words always take me back with a smile, Yeah. You don't really hear it frequently from people. So when I do hear it, when I'm watching TV or something, someone says it, it makes me laugh. It makes me smile because it's like very rare. I don't hear people saying it. The only person I ever heard was my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And now I've heard it here and, so yeah, it takes me back. It's just strange that, but yeah.
It's nice because it's personal as well, and it's nice. It makes you smile as well at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always without fail.
Brilliant. Because it's an international podcast, teach me a word or a saying that I may not know.
Okay. There's a saying in the Caribbean where they say, if you can't hear, you must feel. And it's like, if you don't take advice or heed to warnings, you're going to find out the hard way. And recently, the former boxer, Chris Eubank Sr., it's the first time I heard it on like social media or anything, but he used it in an interview. His son Chris Eubank Jr. was about to have a fight with Nigel Benn's son, another boxer, and they wanted to weight drain his son in order to fight, bring his weight down so that it'd be more or less equal with his opponent. But his father didn't want it to happen because there's consequences when you do that. You can get damage, you're dropping your weight to fight when you're not going to fight it the right way, But he didn't want to. He wanted the money. I think it was something like 10 mil. Wow. So he went along to have this fight, and his father said, if you can't hear, you're going to feel. And he certainly did feel. He ended up in hospital. Even though he won the first fight, he ended up in hospital. he went against all the rules and, drained his weight against the boxing board of control. And yeah, he felt, he was in there for, I think, a week or several weeks, and he had like a few damage to his right head and so forth. So yeah, so he felt the hard way. He didn't hear, but he felt. So
yeah, good example.
Well-known Caribbean.
Yeah, really good.
The other one is, you may have heard of it. I think it's biblical. And twice a child. Once a man, twice a child. And that's another phrase my mum used to use when she ever saw someone who was like, used to be vigorous and then now they're older and can't move around as much. She would always sort of shake her head and say, once a man, twice a child. And I say, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? But I know now, because at one stage in life, we're a child, you're being looked after, pampered, whatever. Then you become a man, woman, you find your own way in life. But eventually, that childlike behavior hits us again when we're older, a bit frail. We need help. So once a man, twice a child. So that's something that's used quite a lot in the Caribbean families. You always hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, excellent. There you go. Brilliant.
Yeah.
For the price of one as well. Good stuff. So when did photography click for you? Obviously, excuse the pun, but when did you realise you could take a good photo?
It's more recently, but there was a time I didn't think I can take a good photo, but a group of people did. When I was at a wedding. I was in my teens at the time, and it's a big, massive wedding. It was a family. The bride was from the UK and the husband was from Germany, but they were well-to-do, and they were having the wedding over here. It's like everyone I knew was going to this wedding. And I remember the family making a fuss about it. So there was a camera that the family had, and I thought, well, no one else is going to pick it up. I'll take it and go around and start being inquisitive and start shooting. And I just had this idea, just go around and just capture the day. Back then I thought, weddings, I'm going to be sitting there listening to the ceremony. It's boring. And the idea of playing with a camera and shooting everyone was great. I did that, and I never really did that before. And we went around to this wedding. It felt like all day. It went on from early morning, different stages of the day. They were doing different things. And they could, like I said, they were wealthy, so they had all these extravagance and, so, so a few weeks after the wedding, they had an album evening. I've never been to one before. It was the first time everyone sort of gathered around to the bride's mother's house to have a look at the album, the photos of the day. But when we got there, a crowd of people were sitting there and said, we've got bad news. The photographer sort of messed up the footage, the videos, the film. We've got nothing. I was like, well, how does that happen? Because I remember I'm sure there were about 3 photographers there doing various things, but whatever happened, they said it was destroyed, so she was really upset. And so I just sat there looking at everyone sort of like, oh no. And then out of the blue, my mum said, well, my son, and I was, Mum, no, don't, because I didn't see anything fascinating about the photos, and I just didn't want, to show anything. That was just for me, and they said, we'd be glad to see them. And my mum said, I'm sure there must be something good in there, at least you'll have something saved from the day. So I thought, great. So anyway, when I got the photos and everything, we took them down there, and I just sat there. I didn't really want to go that day, but we went. And the bride, she liked it. She liked the photos, the bride and the groom. They were like, oh my gosh, you saved the day off. Thank you. Hugs and everything. And I was quite surprised, and they bought it off me they bought everything for, I think it was about £125. And for me, that's like, oh, but it didn't sort of entice me to go any further. It was like a one-off thing, a chapter in my life. I did that, got paid. It's back to school work. You know what I mean? And never saw those photos again. They took the whole lot and they went, I was looking back, pleased they had something to, remind them of the day, and which was good. And I think that was the first time thinking I could click, and that was it. Until more recently, when it was roughly the COVID time, where they had all the protests and marches through London and Whitehall. And my niece wanted me, she was doing photography as well, and she wanted me to come down because it was getting hostile and rough out there. She said, just in case, come with me. And she really was trying to cheer me up as well, because just before COVID, I lost my mother and everything. It was like really, with the COVID era, it was like, oh, it's a horrid moment. So she said, oh, come out and, shoot with me, sort of thing. But I only had my phone. So I went with her, and I've never really been to, as far as I remember, any protests or anything like that. And it's like all these narratives unfolding in front of me, and people chanting, little disputes over here, people shouting over here, banners with their messages. And I thought, this is really good. And I think what caught me was the expressions of people. I like the countenance and physiognomy of people's expression, the shouting, and whether it's aggression or happy, elated moments. So I just went around with my phone and I started shooting. As soon as my phone died, I said to my niece, give me your phone. She said, no, you can't do this. You can't do this, So that really got me into photography. And I think around September of that year, 2020, that's when I started to search for a camera. And there was an incident where I went to Tottenham. I think it was the Mark Duggan case, when there was a protest in Tottenham, and my niece and all these other photographers were there. And I see some of those photographers now. They're all there shooting away, and there I was with my phone. No one taking me seriously, there I was clicking away. And I met this guy. He was a poet and a rapper, I think. Rech32, I think that's how you pronounce it. And he was being interviewed. So I thought, I've seen him around. Let me get a shot of him. So I walked up to him and I said, look, when you finish your interview, is it possible to get a portrait of you? And he said, yeah, of course. Yeah, no worries. He said, I'll do this. Get yourself set up and I'll be over in a second. Okay. So didn't have to set up my phone. My camera's in my pocket, sort of thing. And he came over 5-10 minutes afterwards and he said, right, rubbing his hand, let's do this. He said, where do you want me? And I said, at the time, no experience in portraits or anything, just going by my mind, how I felt. I said, over here by this wall. And he said, okay. And then I whipped out my phone, and the look on his face said everything. He said, you brought me over here to take a picture of you on your phone. He said, where's your camera? I thought you're a professional photographer. And I said to him, don't knock the phone, don't knock the camera. This is my camera. It's the composition, And he's like, and he frowned and said, just take the shot. It was almost like, take it and go away. Don't waste my time. And I thought, so I took the shot and walked away. And that was roughly about the time when I thought, I'm enjoying this so much. Why don't I go out and try and, get a camera? So September 2020, I think it was, I went out, bought a camera, fiddled around with it. And around 21 January, I said, right, I'm heading out. And I went out, and that's when the romance began. Never looked back, and just kept on pushing. It was one of those things where sometimes you do something, you take up a hobby or something, and you might get bored with it, or not even bored. You might put it down for a while and go back to it later. A bit like stamp collecting. I used to collect a lot of stamps, and it got to a stage where I just stopped, and then it just got that book there with all the stamps, and never went back to it.
Yeah.
With photography, I just found that you're forever learning. You're evolving each time. When you see the work, you feel that you're getting better and better. You're looking at things, the same things, but differently. And you're getting faster, more expeditious in the way that you look at things. And I was enjoying that. And that's when I thought, hold on a second, I'm enjoying this. I've got to get deeper into it. And I think when the protests and the marches started to fade a little, that's when I sort of automatically, subconsciously went into looking for portraits, because I realized during those protests that I liked the faces, the faces they were pulling, their expressions, and didn't see much of that afterwards. So I went looking for that, and places like Soho, Camden Town, where people are more sort of adventurous in their dress sense and more crazy. they're more out there. And and that's what drew me to those areas, and from then on, that was it. Never looked back, and just loved it. And it's a small, you keep on going. You just keep on going, just keep on going. There's no stopping. So,
Yeah, well, that's good progression. So obviously from the first time you realised, oh, actually, maybe I can do this with the wedding, and then obviously the protest get hooked into their faces and everything else, and
that gate.
Not really the dissing your phone, because your phone's got a good camera anyway, but
that's right.
Definitely progression to a camera. So brilliant. Love it.
Gave me that drive.
Yes. Well, this is a tricky bit now, because this is your favourite 3 photos, and why you like them.
So my favourite 3, I would go to straight away, would be Paul Pulford, and that's the guy who I took the photo that got me into Portrait of Britain. Now, I met Paul like several years ago, and I took pictures of him then. But from that time to now, you look back and think, he's a good character. I didn't take it. It's not that I didn't take it well. I suppose as you advance and you progress, you see how you can take it better. And I saw more in him, and the more I studied faces and like people's countenance, the more I felt that I can take it in a better way. So he reminded me, he's a real alpha male. He's a bit like, he reminds me of Nick Nolte. It's like when you see someone, and nowadays you either fist bump or just shake the person's hand. You get to the phrase where you don't know whether to shake hands or fist bump.
Yeah.
He's prominent. You fist bump. There's no 2 ways about it. He's an alpha male, and he's like, right, you want to take a photo of me? Where do you want to go? So, and I said to him that, we always used to talk, and he said to me one day, if you want to get another shot of me, make me here at 2:00. I'm always going to be here. Whatever you plan, we'll go for it. So I said, great. More or less every Sunday, Columbia Road, I'd try and make my way down there, but I'd go through Brick Lane, and it's a good move, but at the same time, it's the wrong move when you're going to meet someone and you like portraits. So I'm running through Brick Lane every Sunday, and I meet 1 or 2 faces. Then I sort of halt and think, hold on a second, I either take this shot now and risk the chance of missing Paul, but then if I go straight to Paul, I'll never see this. At least I know I'll see Paul again, but this person and these other people that I'm never going to see them again. So I took the risk. And then I get to Columbia Road and he's gone. And I was like, That happened for quite a few times. And then I was walking down Bethnal Green Road, and I knew I'd missed him that day as well. So I was just strolling. I thought I'll just go down Bethnal Green and Brick Lane and see what I can find. And there he was I think it was near Sainsbury's. He was talking to a homeless person. As I was walking towards him, he saw me and he smiled, and he went, 2:00, eh? 2:00. He said, I've not seen you. I said, I know. I said, we will get there. We will do it. We will have that moment, and I will, because I really want to take that shot of you. And he said, you know what? It's like I said, this Nick Nolte kind of stature. Do it now. And I weren't going to say no. He's like, do it now. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, no, it's not the right place. He said, come on. And he sort of challenged me. So he put his hands behind his back. And then the moment I lifted the camera, there's no word of a lie, the sun has shone across his face. And his long blonde hair matched his beige overall. And his like piercing blue eyes matched his plaid blue shirt. And I immediately saw it through the viewfinder. I thought, wow, this is like, his face is glowing. So I took the shot and I kept on looking. I hope this is all right. By the time I get home and look at the seat and seat on the computer and to see how it really looks. And I did. I got home, scrutinized it, and I showed it to my niece, and she said, I like that. That's a winner sort of thing. But I weren't too sure. But lo and behold, it got me through. I sent it off to Portrait of Britain and it got through. And it taught me a lesson because, well, however things are meant to be, things will be, It taught me that you can plan as much as you want, but it's that spontaneousness, when it is supposed to happen, it will happen. And I could have planned it and it could have just been sitting there on Instagram and nothing else. But, without planning, spur of the moment, I took the shot, and it just taught me that sometimes you just got to go with the flow. be spontaneous and not plan, because I couldn't, we made plans to meet up 2:00 and I just didn't make it.
Yeah.
The other one, the same thing happened with the one that got shortlisted last year with the Asian girl. And I was in Southall at the time, for Saki. And this Asian family were walking in front of us, and the father turned around and he saw me with the camera, and he ran over to me and he said, "Oh, can you take a picture of my daughter?" Because she was all dressed up in the yellow outfit. And I said, "Of course I can. Yeah, sure. And he said, "And my wife and my son." And I said, "All of you, I'll get a shot of all of you." So I took a shot of the daughter first. And she was just sort of standing there. I didn't know how to sort of pose her sort of thing. I didn't know how to put her in the pose. And then I took the shot, and then she walked away and she stood by this wall, and her brother came into the scene. He wanted his shot. I was just about to take his picture, and I looked up and I saw his sister sort of standing there with a lollipop in her mouth next to this little single dandelion. So I said, "Sorry, mate, sorry." So, poor little kid. I sort of moved him out the way and went for his sister and got the shot of his sister.
Yeah.
Again, the planned version didn't really hit, but when she went and just casually walked over, did a candid shot of her, and yeah, that was the one that got through as a lister. And then I went back to the parents and I took a picture of the mother and father and the brother. But yeah, that was, again, it's one of those things where I probably wouldn't have disturbed the family and asked for a shot.
Yeah.
Because, it didn't occur to me. I saw them in front of me, but I never thought, "Oh, that girl looks good in the outfit." But it's just, she placed herself in that right position next to the dandelion. And it was like this flower sort of seeping out, growing out of concrete, the concrete the creases between the concrete. And yeah, so again, it taught me, sometimes it's not the planning, it's the spur of the moment. Just go for it and capture it. So that's really, it's the first one, and Paul Poof is the first one. And the second, the girl is like an example of the Paul as well. But my second picture would be the blue taxi that I have on the top of my Instagram page, because I had to be so expeditious in taking that shot. It happened so quickly, within seconds, because she was at the back of the taxi at the traffic lights. And it was like she was new to the area or something, or new to the country, or she was looking around as if curiously. And I noticed it. But then I stood there looking at her, and then she caught me looking at her. And for that moment, she looked at me and stared. And I just kept on clicking away. And I was saying to myself, "I hope I got that. Please, I hope I got that." And within seconds, I went green. She was off. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." It was one of those things where she wasn't going to be, it wasn't going to be one of those shots where you've missed it and it's just a figment of your imagination. I actually got her, and it was a lovely moment. I was elated for that moment. I think the third one was more recently at the classic car boot sale. It was one of those food trailers, metallic silver food trailers, and there was a girl, Anna. She was being shot by another photographer, and I sort of went over and was like looking at the scene and everything. I took a few shots where she was standing as well. But then as she moved over, when she started to walk away, I said, I've got an idea. And she walks over to the silver trailer. And I thought, again, it's one of those moments where you can see it. So you say to yourself, you better catch it then. You better get it, And yeah, I was so pleased with it. There's a few other photographers there, and there was like, I put a little message on my Instagram because so many other photographers sort of saw the scene and came over. It was myself, and there's another photographer called my niece, Fiona, and James. We were there shooting, and these other photographers came along, and it was literally like, to the others, like, "Go away, get off. This is mine. Just go away." And they weren't having it. They were trying to, like, this lens was on my shoulder where someone was like peeping. They were trying to get the shot, but I got what I could, and then just got rid of the scenery. Like, go, everyone goes. Yeah, that was a good moment, because it's just how I imagined it. How I envisioned it, and so I was really pleased with that. So many times you see something and an element of that scene moves out the way, or someone moves into place, and the whole scene has gone.
Yeah.
So those three are
Perfect.
mainly.
The thing is, with the light as well, like we've said before, you got to move quick. If that light disappears and you get that perfect shadow, or you get the perfect, bit of light hitting, bit like a rim light on the back of their hair or something like that.
This is it.
That's the thing. You just never know. It's a split-second decision,
and it's all gone. So you've got to go for it. You've got to be expeditious in what you see. Try not to be hesitant. When you're going for it. Which in the past, there were times in the past where you've seen people on buses or wherever, and you hesitate, and you think to yourself, if only I didn't, that shot would have been great. But now, with experience, you become a bit ruthless, and you just go for it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. 3 different, again, really good choices. Yeah, excellent. Mm-hmm. So, what advice would you give a new photographer?
I would say for a new photographer, I can only base it on myself, and that is to practice. Just go out and shoot. Or if you find something that you like, try and enhance on it and try and create something new out of it, and spill on ideas. But just go out as much as you can. If you can't go out every day, as much as you can, and just shoot. I always try to take my camera with me, and just never used to before, but now it's like, just in case, I miss something, or, because there are times you go out, something happens, I had my camera. So I know you can do it with your phone, but you're so used to the first thing you go for now is your camera. So it's like, but my advice would be to just go out, find yourself, shoot, find an area where you like, and see what you can find. Just keep seeking, see what you can find, really.
Perfect advice. Yeah, brilliant. Love it. So you're obviously a busy fella. You've got lots going on. What have you got coming up? What's next?
Well, I've got that talk coming up with the Streetbadass Festival
next weekend. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
I'm nervous about that. Oh, thank you. I've never done a talk before. I mean, if someone told me 5 years ago, one day you'll do it, 5 years from now you're going to do a talk, I'd probably just laugh them out of town, because never thought of that, especially in front of like other talented photographers.
Yeah,
bit stressful, but I'm always up for a challenge. So give it a go.
Yeah. No, absolutely, it will be great. And the thing is, if you don't say yes to these things, we don't progress, do we? If we don't actually challenge,
this is it.
You've got to say yes and just make that your main word, I think, these days.
Well, yeah. I mean, from my experience, that is the thing. You move forwards with experiences. So you challenge it, and if you like it, you can do more. If you don't, you say, "Well, at least I tried. I gave it my best." And but I do like to take on these challenges. It's like when I've walked through the door and I've done it, I'm like, yeah, but at the time you're like, oh, what have I let myself in for? And you go through those stages where you panic, you stress, you start thinking, I shouldn't have done this, Yeah. But if you get through the other side well enough, then you say, what was I worried about? So I'm hoping it's like that. And you get through, you do the talk, and don't sort of get carried away with nervousness and start just, what's he talking about? What's he? I am excited from where I started and to where I am. And the journey, I would say, it's nowhere near the end, I would hope. And you're still on this journey, you're still learning things, and you're still finding things that you thought you would have found ages ago. Everyone's learning at different paces. So learning as you go along, and you gain from these experiences, So yeah. Take it all in my stride. Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, if you look back 5 years ago, you wouldn't believe yourself anyway, would you? So well done. And you thought, well, if I didn't pick up the camera, these things would be things you either remember for a short time or you don't remember at all. And they're now things where I look at each picture, each photo. I remember what I was doing at that time. I remember how I took it, and, how the subject felt, how I felt. Maybe not with all of them, but with a lot of them, I can, so it's like a little diary in itself. And when I do sit back and I look at where I've come from, look at the images, I wouldn't take it like that now. It's like the progression, you can see that progression. It raises a smile, So I hope it continues.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Brilliant. Yeah, excellent. Brilliant stuff. So anyway, thanks for being my guest. I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you for
And
having me.
I love your work. It goes without saying. And I like to say, I'll be there still at the side, not pressuring you. I'll be there as a backup if you need it on the weekend. So yeah.
I'm going to need it.
Yeah, I don't need it at all. Right. Well, you have a good evening, and thanks for being my guest.
And you, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Rob.
Take care.
Take care.